Just in time for an unboxing. It's my new, well, old used PC from eBay. I can't wait to see what's inside. Oh. Well, I guess it's better they use too much packaging than not enough. I didn't even set that up, by the way. It legit had that much paper inside. But now for the ultimate question. What gem was worthy of such an enormous amount of paper packaging? Well, this might come as a shock to some viewers, but it's the HP Z440. My fourth one to be exact, which begs the question, how many Z440s are too many? The answer, of course, is mind your business / lemon grab.
I am within my rights!
Alright, so it's not so shocking as my obsession continues, but there are some key differences between this eBay purchase and the Z440s I've bought previously. Specifically, the two most recent times I've bought them, I got them for around $50. Now, with this buy, I paid almost $150 for the same machine. So we are faced with a question of, was it worth it? But as always, I bought this computer specifically to do some upgrades and stuff, which will be a future video. I still have a couple more Z440 builds to do, which I promise there's going to be other types of videos as well. Now, you've heard of a computer desk, but have you heard of a desk made out of computers? Now, it might not have the glamour of, say, a chair desk. I flew too close to the sun. And it might not be as extreme as something I've seen suggested in my comments, which is a hybrid desk / computer / chair. It's too OP. I'm scared. But it'll do. Now, first of all, I just want to cover what attracts me generally to Z440s in the first place. Now, if you've seen any of the previous videos we did centered around this model of computer, the first thing I like is that there's a really wide range of inexpensive processors that we can use as upgrades. Just for example, we've done like a $19 CPU that had 6 cores running at, I think, 3.8 gigahertz, a $20 CPU with 10 cores running at like 3.4. There's a very wide range of CPU choices in the old Intel Xeon type processors that fit this type of motherboard. But on to why I paid around $150 for this computer specifically. Well, first of all, there's something that's disappointing. We can see here it does come with an NVIDIA Quadro K2200, which is not a bad GPU. Generally, the buy it now price for this on eBay is around $50, give or take $5. So I could comfortably say I could probably offload that for $30, maybe $35, and that's going to cover the shipping cost plus a little bit. Why that's frustrating though is this computer was advertised as having a Quadro M4000, which is a $100 GPU. So overall, is it worth it to like return the computer for around $50 lost? I don't plan on it. I'm just gonna keep it because all in all, it still is a solid foundation at the price I probably would have paid for it otherwise putting it together, but that is enough for me to, you know, take some points off the review for sure. But anyway, rolling with the punches, we'll keep going. In addition to the Quadro GPU, there's a few things of note in here that wouldn't be present in a bare bones type deal, which when I bought these PCs for $50, that's kind of what they were. Now, our main value still in this case, other than the GPU, would be this. We have 32 gigabytes of DDR4 memory, specifically two 16 gigabyte sticks. Now, from what I've read, these Z440s are capable of a quad channel memory configuration and the board supports it. Maybe it would have been better to have, say, 8 4 gigabyte sticks. Not that I know specifically that we would see any improved performance from that. It's hard to find detailed information on these older boards. about whether something like that is even going to be significant in terms of performance. But anyway, all that aside, doesn't really matter. We have 32 gigabytes of DDR4 2400 megahertz RAM, which I'd say, judging on the low end, that's probably $40 right there just in the value of the memory. Some other things of note. We have a 2 terabyte HDD hard drive. We're going to want to run the operating system and core applications from an SSD, so I'm not specifically going to use this in the build, but I will use this in my home server for extra storage, and I'd say that's $15-20 in value right there. But speaking of SSDs, it did come with this. If you look down in the PCIe Express slot, you might recognize this from previous builds on this channel. This is the HPZ Turbo Drive. And essentially what this is an M2 NVMe SSD to PCIe adapter. And in case you didn't see the previous videos, we can open this up real quick, and I'll show you just generally how this operates. And I was really hoping there would be some kind of SSD in this already, but I've already opened the adapter earlier, and as you can see, nothing inside except the holder. Now essentially what the Turbo Drive allows us to do is take an NVMe SSD like this, place it into the adapter like so, put the heatsink back onto the adapter, and then we can plug it directly into a PCIe slot. Now, while it won't be as fast as if there was an M2 slot on the board and we could boot directly from that, the read-write speeds of this adapter, at least according to the specs, are still over twice as fast as a standard 2.5-inch SSD. So while it's only like a $15 value, because that's what these adapters tend to go for, I think it's worth it for the additional boost. And I did begin the install process just to make sure all the hardware is functioning properly and that the HPZ Turbo Drive is compatible with this SSD, and everything's working well so far. Which brings us to just one last final note I want to make about this PC specifically, and that is the power supply. Now, the Z440s don't always come with this PSU, so I was glad it did. If you watched the previous videos, you probably saw that sometimes they come with a 525 watt power supply, which is not bad at all, but that PSU doesn't have any kind of GPU connectors. This variation of the Z440 came with a 700 watt power supply, and that one has these two 6-pin GPU connectors, as well as this additional fan here in the front of the case, which you don't always see that in the Z440 models either. So that was a pretty solid bonus to see those included. This computer is a really good example of how, when I'm looking for a deal on eBay, I'm not necessarily looking for the absolute lowest price, but often a combination of price and components, especially if the components are something of value that I can sell, or something that I need for the future build anyway. But anyway, that's all for this one. Thank you for bearing with me, especially I'm using a different camera and the white balance has a mind of its own, but I appreciate everyone who's watching, and that is all.